Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome to Record Breakers, the podcast where four guys share music with each other and share their thoughts on that music on a fairly regular basis. I'm Peter Rave, your man with no plan. Here with me is, of course, my team, my squad, my crew. We've got Brett.
Aloha.
We've got Drew.
Hi.
And we've got Patrick.
Hello.
We're here to talk about music, and the provider of the music this week is me. I'm sharing an album with the guys. I'm kind of continuing a little bit of a theme I've been having with all my picks. It's very in a similar way in some ways. We're talking about Mega Ran, aka Raheem Jarbo, aka Random, and his album RNDM. It's, I would say, probably one of his most complete albums of recent times. It's kind of a culmination of a lot of what he is as a person. I think most characteristically expressed by kind of the split album cover, kind of the more realistic portrait on the one side and the 8-bit style portrait on the other side, kind of a little bit of all of his different personalities. But we'll talk about themes elements in a moment. Let's ask about expectations. Brett, what were your expectations coming into this album?
I am familiar with Mega Ran, and somewhat of his work. My general stance is that I dig it, but I guess not. I didn't dig it enough to dig into it without Petey forcing me to. Well, not force me. He asked me to listen to this album, as I will ask you. Yes. So yes.
Patrick, what were your expectations? I was almost going to ask your haiku. It's like, here, give me your haiku now.
Wow, just jumping right to the good stuff.
Rolling backwards. Roll.
I too am familiar with Mr. Mega Ran. I had the fortunate. I was fortunate enough to catch most of one of his sets during South by, and also ran into him at the Wrestle Circus show and had a nice little conversation with him because he's a nice guy. I've met him on a couple of occasions when he's here, and he's one of those folks when he's in Austin. If I get a chance to go see him, I will, because he's a nice person and someone who I have a few things in common with, and I enjoy the music he makes. But I had listened to this album like maybe once or twice a while ago, but I hadn't listened to it in a while, so it was nice to go back and really dig into it.
Yeah, this is not the first time we talked about Mega Ran. Them going by Random. We did talk about Forever Famicom with Roberto guesting on the show, Roberto Villegas.
Not all of us did.
Not all of us did, particularly Drew. By some circumstances, the one and only incomplete Record Breakers episode, and for a reason, because we just I don't like not having any of you guys not having you guys completely here. But yeah, Drew, you finally get to talk about Mega Ran. What were your expectations coming into this album?
I've never heard. No, I'm not gonna play that off like I've never heard this before just because I wasn't here the last time. No, Mega Ran is an artist I'm familiar with. One that, like some of these before, I have said I'm very familiar with a lot of their songs. The Wiley's Castle one is still one of my favorite Nerdcore songs, but I have never done a front to back listening of a Mega Ran album. I've heard the quote unquote hits, if you could call them that, from a Nerdcore guy like Mega Ran, but I haven't done a full back to front, so I was happy to get into the nitty gritty, as it were.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, Mega Ran, aka Random. I think both of those parts of him play a factor into this album. Is a very smart, talented rapper. He is an ex-teacher. He is a guy who loves hip hop and is a big nerd, a big level of a nerd. But that didn't get into being a nerdy rapper until a good way into his career, until he started doing chip tunes into his hip hop. getting his chiptunes in his hip hop and his hip hop in his chiptunes.
Two great tastes. It tastes great together.
Tastes great together.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And kind of wading into the nerdcore genre. So as it goes, one could either say he is not completely nerdcore, or could say that he is one of the prime examples of nerdcore being more than what people think nerdcore is. So either kind of however you want to look at it, I'd probably more lean towards the latter way of looking at it. But
Genres are dumb.
Yeah. He raps from the perspective of somebody who's nerdy. He also raps about nerdy references. This album is more of who he is as a person, as an artist, as a rapper. It has several songs where like it's just a look how it can spit songs, but he has several songs that are much more personal. It has a lot of chip hop of his chip hop elements in there, with but more complete into associating more of the variations of his like production work and the people that he usually works with. It goes into a lot of different themes and elements, and it is a complete hip hop record with a lot of nerdcore influences and beyond. And I think it's very personal. It's very, very smart, very clever, and very fun. There's a lot of fun to be had on this album. Let's go, Brett. What would be the themes elements that caught your attention on this record?
Well, first off, as a person, he's generally well loved by especially those who personally know him, and he has a genuine quality, and so does his work. That really says a lot from a genre where it is a lot of playing a character, like a larger than life kind of figure with the microphone. Any person who is on a
lord of some sort.
Yes. And this album has a lot of references to yeah. So this album has a couple of references to his personal thoughts on his legacy and coming to terms with the harsh brevity of life, knowing that something he has created will continue after he's gone. Then that is a theme and an element. He said on a YouTube video I watched, not earlier today, that his main concept for this album is less is more. I really didn't notice that there was less or more. It's not exactly the tightest album you'll ever listen to. There are some rough edges, some timing issues. Nothing that's a deal breaker. This is an album that was not produced by a million people in a cave somewhere. So you don't expect that out of what you've got, but that is something that should be brought up. It's a generally well made. You can tell the hours have been put into this album to make it what it is, and there is a lot of effort. You see a lot of good hustle out there on this album.
Good intangibles.
God damn it! I was gonna say intangible. Come on, Petey.
Sorry, it's a Skype lag will get you.
Everyone's taking my jokes.
That moment will never happen again. You've lost it.
Yes. Patrick, what will be the themes elements that caught your attention?
I think you mentioned it up at the top. This album's deeply personal for the most part, and vulnerable and honest in a way most hip hop doesn't do. This in the big wide world of nerdcore and nerdcore adjacent hip hop, this is very much I would strike similarities to a recently spoken about album by Samus, where you are Mega Ran, the human being, Raheem is very much talking about his life, his experiences, his thoughts in a very personal way, and sometimes talking about stuff that ain't easy. Like rap historically can be a lot of bluster and machismo. and like you said, playing characters. Very much like the aforementioned Dark Lord, or even like MC Chris, who we talked about on this show. MC Chris plays a character when he raps. It's ridiculous and over the top and fun.
U.S. Pipe Gerstmann.
Yes, U.S. Pipe Gerstmann. It's and that's fine, but like there's also this side that's like when people talk about rap being poetry, this is what they mean. They mean like this really personal, talking about real life shit. And this album, 98% of it is very much in that talking about real stuff. And I appreciated that. Musically, you get both relatively traditional hip hop beats, but also like some Game Boy sounds and other sort of chiptune things. It's the right blend of it. I've said it before. I'm not a fan of pure Game Boy as a musical instrument, as the only musical instrument. I like it as one instrument amongst many because it just has a really limited, dynamic range and range of frequencies it can reproduce. So it works well here, very much as just one instrument in the group and the sound that's being created.
Yeah, chip hop, as it were, which I still like as a term. Drew, what would be the themes elements that caught your attention?
Well, these guys said there's a lot of rap out there that is bolstered and put out and sort of is the thing of I'm larger than life. I have tons of this. I have tons of that. I'm going to throw money around and sip maybe substances that were not meant for copious human consumption, and things of that nature. Yes, no matter what, I believe that what is best in hip hop is when there's a lot of truth and a lot of filtering the world through a personal lens and getting personal with it. The rappers I tend to gravitate towards, whether it be nerdcore or just regular rap music, your Childish Gambinos, your Chances, stuff like that, are people who filter the world through themselves and you get who they are through it. It's poetry, right? And as somebody who has dabbled in poetry himself, I appreciate that angle on things. Hey, guess what? The guy's a nerd. And a lot of it filters through that. So some of the nerdcore comes through here in a lot of different ways. Not only in subject matter, but I mean, like, I mentioned this, I don't think I mentioned this in the show, but I mentioned it pre-show, but there's some deep cuts if you're willing to look for them. I actually talked to one of the guys that made one of the beats on this album and confirmed my suspicion about one of the samples, which I will bring up later. It's crazy. The songs a lot of times are very inspirational. To me personally, it's a lot of like, look, like I'm this way and I'm okay with that. And I got here and I'm going to work on it. And like, I'm still making myself better and you can do that too. Like that sort of like, yeah, like this is cool sort of stuff. But there's also some like real commentary about certain things. Even if there's a song on here talking about not wanting to comment on certain things, which is weird. Also, when I break down songs, I'm going to go into this a lot too, but the features in this, if you're going to have a lot of features on a record, you better use your features well. You better be able to push them to a degree, but they cannot take away from you. They cannot show you up. There have been people who have featured other rappers before on their album, and I feel like sometimes the feature shows up the main artist, but I don't think it ever happened here personally. This is a guy that is really knowing what he's doing and is really comfortable at this point, I feel like, of where he's going. There were other albums that maybe I feel like maybe weren't as comfortable. He leaned on a couple of crutches, like the I'm going to rap about specific characters in Mega Man, because that's the beats I'm using. But as much as I love those records, it's maybe something that like now he's like, okay, now I can really push out and I can have both sides. I can have the Mega Ran side, I can have the random side, and my fans will understand that and I can be okay with that. And I think that's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you get into those songs where where he explores that. And yeah, we get into like some of the key tracks. We kind of jump around a little bit, but yeah, meeting of those two sides, aka exactly the song called "The Meeting," where he takes a call or takes a message from his older self, in a sense, confronting his current self with the fact that he's changed. He's changed as a rapper. He's changed as a human being. He's changed as an artist. And his old self is disappointed with his new self. And then he quickly rebuts with all the reasons why he did change and what he's done for the better for himself, and how nowadays he may not comment directly. You know, he may not be as always socially conscious, but he at least offers a kind of an escape and things like that, which is nice as far as the lyrical content. Plus, it's a very confrontational song in that he confronts himself, which is cool. There's also songs like Brett had mentioned, Infinite Lives, which, like Brett mentioned, about somebody's legacy, about, you know, having your existence live forever through the things you put out there, not just your music, but how you inspire other people, the messages you bring out there, the what you teach as a human being, and how you affect other people can live on forever, in that sense, even after you die, which is cool. Rushmore, which is a very specific tribute to three rappers, three nerdcore pillars, at least according to Rand, three people that made Nerdcore what it is today and who deserve to be on the Rushmore of Nerdcore. And if you don't know, it's MC Frontalot, MC Chris, and MC Lars, that respectively, as far as verse 1, 2, and 3, which is really cool. It's a nice little shout out. I also like that. I also like the fact that if you think about it, Mount Rushmore has 4 heads on it. You talk about 3 other rappers, which I like that. I see what you did there, random. And there's other cool songs, like even more personal songs, like A Poet, which, again, we're talking about poetry, explores the idea of being such a deeply personal and kind of emotional song in A Poet. And even fun, like he does get into fun regular hip hop and a couple of different songs, including OP, which is just I am good at rap song, and he plays it. He uses nerdy imagery, nerdy terminology to brag about being a good rapper, and it's fun. And it's him and Storyville and Richie Branson, I believe. And it's just a really fun sing-alongable song in the hook. Brett, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Well, your favorite song. It's a good track for this genre. It's a rarity to have an aspirational song. It normally comes from the, I already did that, and let me tell you about it. Let me tell you exactly what my side mirrors do. That in my playthroughs that stuck out somewhat. The Meeting it speaks personally to it's a good chill the fuck out. I'm just a dude who makes music. It's very humanizing. Humanizing the guy behind the microphone. Another thing that's sort of a rarity in this, even in this subgenre of a subgenre, I dug it. Revisions, the spotlight of the struggles of the educator from a personal experience. It was a heavy theme, but it was very well crafted. And then some shit happens. Like I really wasn't expecting a miscommunication. It's so unlike the rest of the album. It was a nice groovy tune. It sort of perks up the back half of the album, which does get a little perky. I enjoyed that very much. There are a lot of good tracks that I could have picked out, but those were the ones. It's in a book.
Patrick, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
I'm actually going to talk about the intro, same as it ever was, because it's really personal and it gives you a little insight into who Mega Ran is, and it does that really well. And I just feel like it very much in the way I think we all kind of like an opening track. It kind of lets you know what you're gonna get. When I talked about how much I like how kind of really personal things are, the meeting kind of grabbed me there. And musically, I thought the actual production was fun. This was personal and honest. Revisions, because I'm gonna have to talk about that because spoiler alert, in a previous life I was trained to be a teacher and I did a little teaching, and this is why I'm not in education. And a lot of really someone just talking about the best intentions, but it's a hot mess and there's only so much you can do, and it drains the life out of you. Because all you want to do is make the world a better place, and it's really hard to do. And then because it is one of the I am a very negative person. I am overwhelmingly negative. I'm gonna talk about the most positive goddamn song ever, Infinite Lives. The last time I saw him was his closer live, and it has a sing-along chorus and it makes you happy, but it also is you're a little bit dealing with trying to deal with your own mortality and using that to try to push you to try to make something that's worth a damn in this world. And it's also just a really fun song in terms of the actual music of it. A good sing-along chorus done right works for me, and being with a group of people singing this along live just sticks it in my head kind of in the best way.
Mm-hmm. Drew, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
This is a very rare time where I'm going to skip the opening track. I liked it, but Infinite Lives is infinitely more one of my favorite songs to come out recently. Possibly one of my more favorite rap songs ever. Not favorite song, sorry. But something about it being super uplifting and super go-getter. Make the world better around you, and how I'm trying to do that while I have the chance. Maybe you should too. Sort of message out there is great. The feature, the D&D Sluggers, great for the sing-along chorus, as Patrick said. And then, I mentioned, Marcus Banks, I believe his name was the guy who produced this beat, and I think a couple of the other beats on this album. But this one in particular used the chip tune used in the background is a sped up version of the RoboCop Game Boy game, which I found out because I was watching a random Giant Bomb live stream or something, and it was being played in the background. I was like, wait a second, hold on. So I literally researched who made this beat, and then messaged him on Twitter. I was like, wait a second, you did this, and it's your fault, right? And he DM'd me. He was like, yeah, no, that 100% was exactly what I sampled there. Well done. I was like, wow, weird, random, super deep cut for that one. Rushmore, I feel has to be talked about, especially with this group, because it's Frontalot, it's Chris, it's Lars. We said that for sure. I understand that there's only so many you can put on your Mount Rushmore, and I understand the goal of wanting to be one of the guys there. I get it. And in my eyes, Mega Ran is one of the mainstays of Nerdcore, so it's not unheard of for me. But I would have liked to hear a Whitey Cracker or a verse about maybe Schaefer, if we're going to mention certain Dark Lords.
Did you want to get more of an STD in there?
But yes, I love me some STD. I love me two STDs, actually. but we're not talking about saves today. We're talking about Nerdcore. The song is great. The Dr. Awkward hook is great. Like, it's just, again, the features used really well. And if we want to talk about features, something about this record that keeps reminding me, like, every time I hear Open Mike Eagle on a track, it reminds me, like, I need to dig into that guy more because he's really good. Like, something about this song and the way that Open Mike Eagle's verse plays off of Mega Ran's verse reminds me of the same way that you had, like, a big, more staccato voice in, like, a Big Boy, and then, like, the Andre Smooth verse in Outkast. And that play off of the two types of ideas in rap is why, like, Outkast needs to come back fully and stop toying with it. Like, it just... But besides that, I think the song is great. I think it really, really works. I mean, I could go on about how great Poet is as a poet, or how great OP was as the semi-bravado, but yet it's still Mega Ran, so you can't be, like, super bravado about it, sort of thing. But that would be me doing the me thing of, I'm going to talk about, like, half this record because I'm indecisive and dumb. Like, that's...
There's just so much good music. And sometimes there's just so many good songs. It's hard to pick. It's been crippled by choice. But yeah, let's bring it back around the horn to talk about some conclusions. Brett, what would be your conclusions on this album?
I bet that there are a lot of people out there that are going to think that this is a really great album, and I'm sure for you it is. I can tell there's a whole lot of work that went into this album. You know, if you're already inclined towards this subgenre in, like, any form, you should give this album a try. As someone who is a, you know, nerdcore adjacent curious, you know, my life wasn't rocked, but I enjoyed my time with the album, and I'll probably dig a little deeper. Like that guy comes around. He travels. If you need to find him, he's available somewhere. So I might actually reach out and go see him one of these days.
He'll probably be with MC Lars.
Probably. But yeah, go give it a listen. Play Record Breakers the home game. You should have probably already done it by now. But you'll probably enjoy it. I don't see anybody being like, this is trash. I can't deal with this.
Yeah, it'll make you happy. Patrick, what will be your conclusions on this album?
I'm really happy I listened to this week. It was a good one. I what Brett said. If you get a chance to go see Mega Ran, if he comes through your local venue, go see him and go talk to him, because he's a cool guy and he'll have conversations with you. And if you're a wrestling nerd, he will talk to you about wrestling. He also he also raps about wrestling occasionally, which you can find on the internet.
He has 2 wrestling albums. He has 2 editions of Matt Mania.
Yes.
He just released the second one.
Yeah.
Good album.
I need
art.
to listen to it. But just, this is one of those reminders that, like, I do like hip hop. I just, like, really, I think my happy place is really personal stuff where, like, you know, you get to know the person doing it rather than the character they portray. And this is really good, and you should go listen to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Drew, what would be your conclusions on this album?
You know that person that Brett talked about for this album? Hi. I'm that guy. This album is probably one of my favorite examples in the nerdcore/nerdcore adjacent, as we're so fond of saying on this podcast, albums, because of the sort of, as I said before, him getting into, like, both sides. It's the Mega Ran side and the random, quote unquote, side, both coming together on one album, right? And, like, I like that when you can show a lot of different sides of yourself. I really, really like that, and I think it's done really well here. And the tracks, to me, yeah, as far as track to track as a whole picture, sometimes it gets off into the weeds a little bit as far as tone goes. But I think, like, you can pull any of these tracks out, and they're really well thought out and really well made, and really well done. It's something that if I would like to get the opportunity at some time to see something like this live. I was real close to seeing as the Nerdcore adjacent in there was a Watsky tour that came through my area that I almost went to, but I think I was playing a show that night or something. I don't remember. Shows you how long ago that was, I guess. But this album, I think, is really dang worth it. I think that I was really sad that I didn't get to talk about Forever Famicom before with Roberto, but this is real. It's good. It's good stuff. And if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably a dork anyways. So it's something that you should definitely look into.
Yeah. If you're willing to head all over to Columbus, he's playing Shumatsu-Con.
That's a bit of a drive, Petey.
Yeah.
Bit of a drive.
Yeah. But yeah, this album is a really, really beautiful, complete album, and I like it. You know, it's a lot of songs, it's a lot of music, but it's all well thought out, and it's has a lot of great contributors, both in the production work and the featurings. It is just a cool, fun, personal, honest album. By a man who is one of the I think one of the new legends currently of Nerdcore, one of the new stalwarts of Nerdcore hip hop, and one of the guys that is really a centerpiece for the whole community. Because I think at this point, because of how much of a variety, you know, when you look at the fact that you go from Mega Ran to Samus to Schaefer the Dark Lord to MC Chris to Crayon Droids and to some of the different artists that are in that walk those circles, you almost kind of realize that Nerdcore isn't so much a genre anymore as it is a community, and one of the big community centers of one of the people that kind of holds them together and is a big person in that making everyone feel welcome is Mega Ran. Because like if you're at a show, he'll make you feel appreciated and welcome for being at the show whenever you talk to him, and it's because he loves his music. You know, he loves the music, and he's passionate and honest and earnest about this, and this album reflects that. I think that's basically it. I think that's the best way to sum it up. Like, this is an honest record. This is an earnest record by somebody who loves what they do. Yeah. Mega Ran. Go see him if he's playing near you. Especially if you're in Europe right now, you're in luck because he's touring the UK. Him and Richie Branson are touring the UK in May. Which is, you know, so go look to that. I may be looking at Mega Ran's show page on his website. But yeah, keep track of there. Go see him live, especially if he brings his band, who brings up One Up and his instrumentals. Yeah, those are our thoughts on Mega Ran. Now we get to the main event of the evening. We get to the haiku reviews. Let's sum it up all in poetic form. Brett, what is your haiku?
Another strong show. The veteran provided what you'd expect. Or what you expected. There, yeah. I screwed up the last week's haiku by one syllable. I will not do it 2 weeks in a row.
No, you ran a syllable deficit, and you were trying to get back into the black by
yes,
by being short.
We've hit peak syllable, so.
Patrick.
Between 2 weeks, you've come up with the right amount. So we're
you know, doing the math. We're all, you know, when we're shitting on other cultures, we want to do it correctly.
Yes. Patrick, what is your haiku?
Quality hip hop, deeply personal message. Listen to this one.
Drew, what is your haiku?
Nerd rap royalty. killing it yet again here. Love every track.
Yes. Yeah. My haiku. Raheem's life story, from random to Mega Ran, personal yet fun. Yeah, it is a fantastic record. You all should be listening to it. And go check out more of Raheem's music. Go check out Mega Ran's various albums. He's on Bandcamp, but go to his Bandcamp. I may even just link his Bandcamp right in the show page. So look out for that. Buy the records from him, support him, and all the members of the Writers Guild. They're fantastic people, and they deserve your support. Fantastic fun stuff. Go check it out. But it's also on the Spotify playlist. You can play Record Breakers home game. On that Spotify playlist will be next week's record, which will be provided by Patrick. Patrick, what do you got for us next week?
We're going to revisit a band who now have a very different sound than they did the last time we listened to them, and that band is Mastodon, and their new record, Emperor of Sand.
Saber-tooth tiger. Oh, wait.
Tyrannosaurus.
Tyrannosaurus. Yes.
I'm too old for that. World class podcast.
Yes. Something fell. That's of course that is next week, and this is this week. You can of course find us all over the internet. Patrick is at the Swagger. Brett is at HeyBeautyBearBird, HIBBITYBIBBARD. Drew is at X2X. I'm at Petey Rave. The show is at 4 Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers. RecordBreakersPodcast.com. RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com. Rebelly.net for this and other shows. Rebelly TV on YouTube, and other places. iTunes, Stitcher. Subscribe, like, share, do the things. Until next time, hasta los huevos.
Yeah. Toodaloo.
Oh,
Watch 'em.